Good evening, and welcome to Roach Robots. I'm going to grab my script. I am Nita Deffabaugh, the young adult librarian at the Northside Library. And with me, we have Navarre Bartz of Cville Makes. And together, we would like to welcome you to the program this evening. We'd also like to thank the Friends of the Library, whose generous and incredible support has made this possible. We are recording this program for inclusion on the JMRL YouTube channel. So if you would like to rewatch this program or have a friend who couldn't attend, we will try to get this posted in the next couple of days. Your mics are going to be muted through this program, but we do encourage you to use the chat and to ask questions. Feel free to answer your questions into the chat bar, or you can click the raise hands and we will unmute you so you can ask your question if you prefer to ask it that way. And with that, we get started. Navarre, would you like to tell us a little bit more about Cville Makes?
Okay, so I'm Navarre Bartz. I'm part of Cville Makes. We started about a year ago, a little bit longer, I guess, in around August or so. And we're a group of makers here in Charlottesville who've been getting together. We talk about things we've made. We were looking at starting a small maker space here in town that was open to the public and almost signed a lease, but that was back in March, and we all know what's happened since then. So we're holding off on that a little bit. So for now, we've been having a few online meetings and also working with the Time Bank here in town on the Repair Cafe that just wrapped up. And in case anyone isn't super familiar, makers are sort of like tinkerers, or that person down the street, you know, that fixes your vacuum cleaner when it breaks kind of people. We like to tinker with things and see how they work, take things apart and hopefully put them back together working like they were, or maybe better. But if not, it's okay, as long as we learn something in the process.
Awesome. Oh, you hear the sound of me knocking over my hot glue gun.
And you probably also hear the sound of a cat meowing in the background, and that's on my end. So
cats are always welcome to library programs, as long as they meet the age requirements. All right, so everybody hopefully has their handy dandy Roach robot kit. This is the solar robot. Oh, it's like we're doing an unboxing live.
Yeah. I'll do mine too.
There we go. This is the solar robot solar Roach kit from Brown Dog Gadgets. Just a shout out to them. Hashtag not sponsored, but they were awesome. And if you would like to make more of these in the future, you now know where to go. We're going to cover a couple. Now, the kit does not come with any adhesive substances other than a special tape, which we're going to get to here in a minute. But the kit recommends using hot glue. You can also use normal glue. Just be super patient and let things dry. But Navarre also has a super fun other option. You have?
Yeah, so I have my soldering iron here. It's kind of out of frame on my phone.
We'll spotlight that beautiful soldering iron. And I also have an example. Let me spotlight myself.
Yeah.
Briefly, I also have this beautiful example Roach, which I did make completely with tape, so it is possible. And I'll talk about that a little bit when we get to the step about how you can wrap yours securely in tape so that it pretty much does what it needs to do, just with the power of tape, for those of you who do not want to work with hot, potentially dangerous items. And with that, let us move on to step one, where we are going to grab our handy dandy instructions. So, or first, I guess we should show everything, all the pieces. So I'm gonna go spotlight Navarre's beautiful workstation there, where he has all the pieces laid out. You may notice that there are these little metal things. They were the little metal U's. They were paper clips. You can absolutely use paper clips for this. These are very thick, sturdy paper clips that cannot be cut with scissors. So I just went ahead and pre-cut those for you because not everybody has wire clippers. But if you ever want to make this on your own, you absolutely just find yourself some wire snips. They often look like pliers, and just go to town on some paper clips and you have instant robot legs.
And if you just have a regular hardware kit at home, like with a hammer and stuff, a lot of the time some like needle nose pliers will have, like here at the bottom, there's sometimes like a little wire cutty thing, to use the technical term. That'll work too if you don't have wire cutters.
So it looks like the first piece we need is the solar panel and the motor. That little thing that looks like a computer chip.
This is our fancy solar panel. And the motor went somewhere. Here's the motor.
And this kit is awesome. It has this thing called conductive tape. So instead of having to use, you don't necessarily have to use a soldering iron. You can use your little, for this part at least, you can use some conductive tape. But you can also just use soldering iron or glue to get it in there. You just want to make sure that your metal connects to the little metal dots. So do you want to demonstrate this next step first?
Sure. So if we kind of look at it, I'll see if I can get the lighting to not be terrible. But you can kind of see there's a little silver glob here on each of these terminals here. So they already pre-soldered, give us a little bit of solder there, so we don't really have to, if we're lucky, we should be able to just melt that a little bit and stick our wires in there. And you'll notice there's a little positive and a little negative down here to tell us which side is which. And then Nita can remind me which color goes to which terminal, because I always mix it up.
I was about to ask you. It looks like
okay.
from our handy dandy picture that it's going to be the red is negative and the blue is positive. But in this, sometimes it's okay to Google things. People give Google a little bit of guff, but as long as you're smart about it, let's see if Google can tell us which wire is which. You'll be surprised to know this is a common question. Red is positive.
Okay.
This might explain why example Roach is not very good at moving.
Yeah, so some components it matters and some it doesn't, like especially when we're talking AC and DC, which is probably a conversation for a different time. But
AC and DC, different types of internet, not internet.
Electrical current.
Just testing you.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what we're here for, to test each other. Okay, so.
Great. If you answer correctly, you always get another chance.
Whoa, okay. I'm gonna try not to knock my camera over while I do this. And this is definitely not sponsored by Radio Shack. I have a bunch of old stuff from there. I don't think there are any Radio Shacks anymore. There used to be one here in town over in Pantops, but they closed a long time ago.
I didn't really say closed.
Yeah, I don't think there are any Radio Shacks open anymore.
Oh, man.
Which is sad.
I know that the people watching this are probably remember what a Radio Shack is, but it had all sorts of glorious wires and batteries and stuff.
Yeah, you would go in the walls, like for like these little motors or something. They'd have a bunch of little drawers that were just full of tiny electrical components, which was awesome if you needed like one thing. So this is flux. It makes soldering easier. So I'll put some of my soldering iron tip and try not to burn myself. Be careful with hot pointy sticks is a good general rule. Okay. And
I'm going to grab a pair of scissors super fast.
I guess I'm covering that with my hand. I'll do my best. You probably can't see it super well because I have to be kind of far from the camera. I just hold the soldering iron against this solder that's here, and the solder will go from, I don't know if you can still see it. It's a little shinier now. I don't know if it's showing up on the camera, but when it starts to melt, it starts to look like molten metal, so it gets shiny. And then once it starts cooling again, it just gets that regular sheen you have with metal. Okay, and that cools pretty quickly, so now, in theory, yeah, it'll hold from the wire. And that tells us we probably have a pretty good joint. If it just flopped right back off after I soldered it, then that would tell me that my solder joint was not super awesome. Luckily, the motor's light enough. I wouldn't do this if I was soldering something heavy because that would be a bad idea. But it's not too bad with this. Then we'll do the other terminal. Again, sorry for the lighting. Yeah, and sometimes you'll get a little smoke. Usually either that's the flux or sometimes if the solder they used had some flux in it, it might not have all burned off when they put it on the terminal. So that's, don't breathe it, but otherwise it's not something to be too worried about unless everything catches on fire. But now we have, kind of gently pull on that, and it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. So we're pretty, seems like we're safe there now. So that's soldering. Again, just, it's a hot stick and it melts the metal. It's not, it seems intimidating at first, and I'm probably not the best soldering person around, but it's not too intellectually complicated anyway until you, it can be challenge. It's simple but not easy sometimes, I guess might be the easiest way to put it.
Not feel you. All right, I'm going to switch to my view real fast. If you are not feeling the solder, or you don't have a soldering iron, but you can see soldering is not something that has to be super scary. Now this kit does have, like I said, the special conductive tape. My lighting is also not great because I am inside of a library that was not necessarily built for this. This is just like a little sticky piece of tape. And what you didn't see on Navarro's video is on the back of the motor is this little sticky tab. So I'm just going to peel that off, and this is sticky. So I can take my solar cell and just go ahead and stick my motor on there. I'm going to look and see where the positive negative is, and keep in mind that my red wire is positive. I'm going to just, oop. You thankfully could not see me struggling to do that. I just plop that on there. Again, lighting is going to be the name of the game here. This is my red wire, and it's lined up with the positive. So now I want to take my fancy tape, and you have way more tape than you actually need. So I'm going to bend the corner off. This might take you a little bit of a second, but thankfully it's very flexible. So you can just bend the corner if you need to help you get this unpeeled. And I'm just going to cut off a little teeny tiny square of it. Well, I'm gonna try. Make sure you have sharp scissors, or you might struggle a little bit with this step. So just, you can see it's wouldn't even cover my pinky. And I'm gonna bend my wire until the little naked end of it. You can see there's a coating, but there's a little naked end. And just stick this right on there. Yep. And the great thing is you don't have to be super dexterous to be a maker, as you can see. That will come with practice. And then I'm just going to cut another little section. So I'm pretty sure that the special tape, if you've ever heard of conductive thread, it's like a special string that you see sold a lot to like make gloves so you can keep your hands warm in the winter, but you can still use touchscreen devices with your gloves on. This looks like it's sort of a similar material to that, just woven together. And so now we have our little ends covered and we've got our battery cut. You might notice at this point your little cell's not wriggling yet. It's probably because we're not in bright sunlight. But when this charges, this is going to be what shakes the whole deal. So now we come to our next fun part, where we have our little wire doodads. And let's see, Namar, are you going to try and solder your little legs on?
I don't think so. I don't think that would probably be good for the panel. Since there's not really, if it was metal backed, then maybe, but since it's whatever epoxy thing it is, I think that would probably just create lots of bad smoke.
Yeah, this is where knowing that this is an adhesive motor is good, because I think I'm going to move my motor. You saw me put my motor all the way down here, and I'm realizing that I'm going to have to be gluing my legs around my motor, so I'm just going to pop it off and move it up so I have some room, because you have all your little leg bits that you can just glue on. So this is the part where we can start getting really wild and creative with our little critter. If you have a pair of pliers that has a little wire cutting part that Navarre showed us earlier, now is a good time to grab it, because you may decide that you want your legs to be a different length than what you got. I don't. So I have my handy dandy hot glue gun. Just like with a soldering iron, it's not going to feel good if you touch yourself with the hot part, but just be a little bit careful and you'll be fine. And we're just going to put a little line of glue. I've been busy putting a lot of glue on my table here, so it's going to struggle for a moment to find enough glue. Just going to stick the leg down in there and hold it for a second while it hardens, and put another little leg down. Hold it while it hardens. I've got really good leg placement here. As you can see, I am amazing at my leg placement. You can probably also trim your legs if you're very careful afterwards, so don't feel like you have to get it right on the first try. Let my glue get a little too cold, so maybe only put down enough glue for one leg at a time. And this is just like a good general life tip. If you are using a hot glue gun, you can always put glue over top of what you've just glued down if you need to make sure it's not going to move. Oh no, we've got a leg down. So you can kind of see which, oh dear. So failure is always an option. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. But you can see we are firmly encased in glue now. These legs are not going to go anywhere once this hardens. I'm gonna give that a second to harden. Let's go check in with Navarre's leg placement.
Yeah, so I used some pliers to make some little feet on the end. So hopefully that will work. And since I seem to have misplaced my hot glue gun, I was able to find my heat gun, but that is not the right tool for this job. I'm gonna try using some tape.
What is a heat gun?
So, all right, I think the appropriate term on the box now is heat tool, but it's basically like a hair dryer on steroids. They get a lot hotter and don't produce quite as much air as you get with a hair dryer, but it's basically the same idea. And you can use it for heat shrink, or we usually use ours to remelt the surface of candles because my wife has a candle business. So sometimes when you first pour them, the top will get kind of weird when it cools.
Cool. I've also heard, and this is maybe don't try this at home, kids, at least not until you've seen a large number of YouTube videos of people successfully doing it without hurting themselves. I do know that sometimes people will use heat guns for 3D prints to help get the surface really smooth. We'll do another program at some point about 3D prints. But if you don't know, a 3D printer sort of builds in layers. So it's kind of like if a book is a thick object, but it's a thick object made of these little teeny tiny layers. And so when you look at something that's been 3D printed, when it first comes off the printer, you can see each of those little teeny tiny layers on it. And you can use sandpaper to sort of smooth it down so you can't see those as much, but I know some people also use a heat gun to sort of smooth it out by just gently remelting that plastic. If you ever do that, do be cautious because it is melting plastic and not the best thing in the world to breathe. All right. So, ooh, I like your tape technique. That looks actually more effective than my original tape technique that I had on mine.
Well, we'll see if it holds once I flip them upside down.
Yeah, if you use tape, it might be a little wriggly, but it's still going to be your roach, and it's going to be the best roach that exists in this world. Like this roach, it was a leggies. This is my tape roach. It was a leggies. A little wobbly, but that just makes them more lovable.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do a hybrid approach and put like 2 of them up front and then the other one in the back.
Right? Like play with your roach. See what works. Like maybe spreading out the legs is the way to go. Or maybe you want to live on the edge and just put them all together. At the end, the idea is this roach is going to, when sun hits it, it's gonna just sort of walk itself around. And so the way that walk looks is going to look different based on whether you put little feet on it, how long his legs are, or there could be her legs are. Just have fun with it. See where petting the legs goes, how that affects how it moves once it starts wriggling. It might also help. I found like cutting your strip of tape after you like take it off the roll, cutting it in half can kind of help get it in between the legs or around the legs. Also, like, be careful not to cover up your solar cell because it might make it a little hard for it to soak up the sun.
Yeah, I guess since I just pulled this one out of the bag, at least some of them have a little film on the top.
Oh yeah, I ruthlessly ripped.
So I'll probably here. Let's see if we can get a.
Oh yeah.
You can at least. I mean, it'll be shiny anyway, but you can kind of see that it's kind of lumpy and shiny. So this has a film on it. I'm gonna wait to pull it off until we're done though, because I don't want to scratch the solar cell. I'm not sure that would make a huge difference, but
And
it's
again,
probably better not to.
right, yeah. And this is, again, basically this is just a miniature solar panel. So if you've ever wanted to like hang out with a solar panel, you've got a little baby one. All right. I think, let's see, I named this one Leroy. This one's Jenkins. Jenkins is ready. Jenkins is, I've just discovered, gonna scooch around on his romp. I did not test whether his legs would actually support his weight. This is how we learn. So I'll probably bend his legs a little bit later to sort of help him hold that weight in the back.
Yeah, so mine I ended up with, I put 2 of the legs up front and then 1 on the back, which seems to kind of be holding. We'll see how it goes. Probably more tape would help with that, or I think I made one of these maybe 4 years ago now, and we used hot glue for those, and those still hold together. So although we also put feathers and crazy stuff on it. So as long as you don't cover the solar panel, you can put all sorts of things on them to make them more colorful. So.
Oh yeah. And speaking of making them more colorful, we come to the most exciting part. Oh dear, where did they? I've lost one of my googly eyes, but you will notice your kit comes with the most important part. I'm glad we have Navarre currently spot. Like I can't find the googly eyes, and they're not called antlers, antennas. The little there's a gorgeous little red wire. And this is where you can really make your roach shine. So Jenkins over here is apparently going to be a Cyclops roach because I've lost one of his eyes. You may be thinking to yourself, how many eyes do real roaches have? I believe they have compound eyes, but this is a robot roach. It needs no eyes unless you deem it in need of eyes. Jenkins does not have eyes because I could not figure out how to tape them on, but you out there in the audience are probably more clever than me. I bet you can figure out how to tape on eyes if you are going the no hot, potentially dangerous objects route of construction.
So I'm gonna try, mostly because I'm lazy, I didn't fold over the end of my tape yet for my legs, so I'm gonna see if I can stick the eyes to that.
Oh yeah.
Maybe.
I also just realized if you don't have a glue gun, you don't have a siren iron, and the tape's not working for you, you can also go to the store and buy glue dots. I don't have any glue dots with me at present, but those would probably also help hold everything together.
Yeah, those would probably work better than the tape if you have them. The back of these is kind of slippery, so it's not wanting to tape for me. So.
Oh dear.
I am gonna take the film off the solar cell now though, because I'm afraid I'm going to tape it on and then not be able to take it off later.
This is important.
So you can see there's just this thin film. It's kind of like sometimes when you get a new phone or something, you have stuff over the screen. So.
Yeah. And you can also kind of see, you might be able to see better on Navarre's screen that the little light blue or dark blue lines on your solar panel don't go all the way to either end. So you should probably be okay to attach a little something on there without it interfering too much.
Yeah, so I am going to at least attach the antler antenna by folding over this piece of tape over just the black portion and not the blue part.
Off screen, I'm going to attach my beautiful cyclopean eye. Feel free to also maybe grab yourself some stickers at this point and just see if it's possible, how many stickers you can put on this before it stops absorbing the sunlight and working. All of life is an experiment. Oh yeah, look at that.
Okay, I'm actually going to run over. I think I have some glue dots on the shelf over there. So, well, you can't see my hand that way. So that way we can show you. Usually, like Joanne and Michael's will have them on like, they're kind of like a cardboard tape dispenser kind of thing. But yeah, tape or like pretty much anything will work. For some reason, the tape isn't working with me on the eyes today, but I think in theory that should work, especially if you're better at tape than I am, which is apparently not very.
Never underestimate a YA librarian and her tape.
Okay.
When you grab your glue dots, I'll show my super secret, I'm determined that these are antlers, antenna technique if you want wiggly antenna. But you find this being wire. All right. This is obviously wire that is coded to be a pretty color. And you can bend it in half pretty easily. So if you would like the wiggly antenna that Leroy here has, you get a beautiful pen. This is a Courtyard Marriott pen, not sponsored, but thank you for the pen that was conveniently lying around. You can just roll it around. Oh dears. This is also a good way if you like to make jewelry and you want to make wire circles, or if you want to make your own jump rings, those like metal rings that connect. I don't know if you can see the jump rings on here. This is a bad example. You can get like a round object the size you want your rings to be and some really thick, heavy duty wire and just roll it around your thing. And then once you've made it, just clip it into, just, clip once and you have a bunch of circles. So we've got our beautiful antenna antlers. And then because in the picture you can kind of see that the antennas are glued underneath and wrapped above, at least in the instructions that come with this kit. You don't have to listen to those instructions at all. And I just realized I went ahead and glued on my cyclopean eye. So we're gonna unbend this because I can't glue this under the eye with the way I have this bent. Okay, well now I can, because turns out if you bend your wire too aggressively, it will break. Keep that in mind when you're working wire. Some wire is more delicate than others, and if you bend it too much, it will snap in half on you. Yep, I'm just gonna put some round little glue on this upper end away from where our motor is, and just sort of stick my little wires, and then run more glue on top of them to secure them in place. A technique you can also use with tape. When in doubt, add tape. All right, Navarre, have you successfully acquired glue dots?
I did. So the boxes you'll be looking for will probably be smaller, and there are probably other brands, but this is just the one we have. So I'm just going to show the logo so you can see it. This is a big box because we make, like I mentioned before, my wife makes candles, and you can use them to stick wicks in the candle before you pour them, so it doesn't go all over the place on you, because you don't really want the wick on your side of candle. So this is a giant box of 1,000. You do not need a box this big. They sell small ones at the store that are like Scotch tape sized.
You're going to tell people what they do or do not need, Navarre?
No. I guess if you really want an industrial size thing of glue dots, go for it. I don't know if anyone carries them locally, but the smaller packages are not too hard to find in a craft store. So then I'll try to hold it up to the phone here. You can kind of see it's just kind of a weird round glob of stuff. You can kind of, it's really sticky, but this is kind of like a wax paper backing. So then it'll come off and stick to my fingers, and hopefully I'll get it off and I'll stick it to the eyes first. Maybe if I can grab it. There we go. So I'm gonna stick the eyes on this little piece of adhesive. And it kind of stretches, as you can see, because it's sticking to my fingers. So we're kind of stretching it out wide. And, oh, and it, hopefully we, no, okay. So the eyes are gonna be a little weird here because they stuck before I meant them to. Wait, okay, there we go. This is a very professional production here. There we go. Okay, so now we have, it looks kind of like an amoeba with big eyes. And then we can just attach that to this front end.
And just in case anybody is just needing a reminder of what they learned in science, amoeba is a one-celled organism. I'm sure everybody watching remembers that, but I am old and I forget things.
They're mostly notable because they're one-celled, but they're big enough. Well, some species are big enough to see. With the naked eye, you don't need a microscope for some of them. So there's his little face or her little face. It's not polite to ask their gender, so.
Unlike you, well, depends on how you ask.
Yes, true.
We'll have a different program on that.
Yeah, that's another discussion for another time to keep things shorter here.
She's beautiful. And there you go. That is, we have our 3 roaches. We have solder roach. We have our 2 tape roaches, and we have hot glue roach, which I'll just real quickly. Here, so you finished hot glue roach. You see, there's a lot of hot glue because I trust nothing. Also by putting a lot of hot glue, it helps me balance the weight of this motor a little bit more. And so these are all of our beautiful roaches. So I hope you found this video informative. I hope you have now in your possession a beautiful solar powered roach. Now all that's left to do is take your beautiful solar powered roach and stick it out in the sun and see how much you can get it to wiggle across the floor on its own. All right. You have any closing remarks, Navar?
I can't think of anything super wise to say. Just again, if you're working with hot stuff, don't stick your hand on it. And if you do, cold water is your friend. And as far as if you want to get more into electronics and soldering and things, there are a bunch of places online now that Radio Shack has gone extinct and you can't go in person. There are places like SparkFun and Adafruit, and you can get parts from DigiKey and Mouser and a bunch of stuff online. Instructables is your friend. So Instructables is like a big database of projects that you can try from. I'm sure there are people who have done this probably very same project on there through all sorts of very elaborate things that cost lots of money and time, but a lot of it's simple, easy stuff that you want to start out with. So.
And I'll spell out the name because I'm not sure if when this recording goes up, if you'll be able to see chat. It's Instructables, like able to instruct. instructables.com. And like Navar said, is a great resource for just about if you have a project that you want to, you have an idea for a project and you're not sure how to go about it, there's probably something very similar to what you're wanting to do on Instructable. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And it's not just electronics, it's woodworking or like even cooking or knitting or like anything. Yeah, exactly. So
it's beautiful. So yeah, hurrah for solar roaches. And we'll see you all next time.
bye.